maybe it's premature, but I'm already thinking next election, and you're gonna have something to point to in regards to what he's done. I mean, how cognizant are they of actually delivering and having to deliver quickly?
Quite cognizant. I think Mr. Carney recognizes that there's a window of opportunity here, not, even within his own party. We would have talked a year ago, guys, about this idea of how the Liberal government was going to be speeding up approval processes for mines, and that the leader in the election could have a slogan of "Build, baby, build." I would have said you were crazy. But here we are. The party has tried to, I think successfully at this point in time at least, change the calculus in terms of what people think about the Liberal Party as. And that is in practice right now the party that says that they're going to get things done, but you have to actually execute and move on those things. I think that goes back to what I said before, that either Mr. Carney is going to be able to pull magic rabbits out of the political hat and get things done quicker, or he's going to go up against what pretty much every prime minister always goes up against, which is a public service that takes a long time, and events that are out of control, that take over the agenda, that takes you away off the sea things that you want to have to deal with, like a strike at Canada Post or wildfires out west. These are things that you've got to deal with on a day-to-day basis that might take you off the sea things that you deal with.
And are you hearing anything new on interprovincial trade, and can we still expect some sort of deal by Canada Day?
No, actually, one of the things that we saw on in the speech from the throne was the King say that the legislation for interprovincial trade barriers would be brought forward by Canada Day, not that it would be passed. And I went back and checked the tape, and I spent lots of time with Mr. Carney during the election campaign, and I thought I was going crazy because I thought I heard him say many, many times that there would be free trade in Canada by Canada Day. In a quick search, was able to find 5 examples of him saying that. So the Liberals have definitely moved the goalposts on when they expect to have those things done. And as we've talked about many times before in the show, Jazz, it's easier said than done to get something like that, which is very complicated, dealing with all the provinces, getting them all on board. The French-English thing, too, is a huge issue with Quebec. So they have moved the goalposts on that. They're still committed to doing it, but there will not be free trade in Canada by Canada Day. I'm sure that will also be a topic of conversation in the First Ministers meet next week, but they have moved the goalposts relative to what they promised during the election.
Details. Well, there you go. Well, good on you for the work that you did there as well. Let's pivot to the U.S. just for a moment. The federal appeals court there has put a hold on the decision striking down Trump's tariffs. What does this mean in the short term for Canadian exporters? What are you hearing?
Well, I was talking to Fabio Volpe today, who's the head guy at the parts manufacturers, and the tariffs that were paused for about 17 hours today and then got back on didn't include steel and aluminum, didn't include the auto tariffs. Those are under separate tariffs that deal with national security. He was telling me that they're projecting that normally in a year, Canada would make 2 million cars. That is going to be at 1.3 or 1.4 million cars. So potentially 700,000 fewer cars being built within those sectors. And again, that wasn't included in the tariffs today, but just shows the impact that they're already having. There was some optimism this morning in Ottawa, and then roughly around the time that the appeals court put the decision out was when question period was ending. And my colleagues were stopping people coming out of Parliament, and they were not particularly pleased or happy to talk about that. But that just underscores the chaos and the chaotic nature associated with Trump and the tariffs, with the courts now getting involved and all kinds of other things. It'll be interesting to see in terms of that meeting that I was talking about before, Jazz. Does that change the calculus for any of the premiers here? Does that keep them more aligned together? Does Daniel Smith try to push harder on things? I think that's the dynamic to watch going forward between Carney and the premiers.
So, I mean, my final comment is here. What you're saying here is that this summer, whether it's infrastructure legislation, whether it's interprovincial trade, there's potential for either this being a unifying opportunity, or some would argue a lot of potential political landmines in the summer for the Prime Minister when it comes to some of the premiers and their response.
100%. And look, if this goes south with Donald Trump, and it seems like it's good right now, but as we've seen, not just here in Canada, but all kinds of different people with different relationships, things can move very quickly with Trump. There is a ton of risk here. High risk, high reward. If Carney can pull these things off, get the tariffs off, get that new security and economic agreement, whatever it may look like, and move forward in more or less the same economic situation that we were previously with the Americans, that would be an unbelievable win for him. If things get worse, the tariffs stay on, there's more discord between the provinces and Ottawa, admission from the premiers right now that with an NDP federally that is in no man's land, with Pierre Poilievre not having a seat, with the Bloc saying that they're willing to give time to Mr. Carney, that this is not a traditional, normal minority parliament, at least for now, that Mr. Carney is likely to be here for a couple of years, and it's probably best for them to all figure out a way to get it.
Mackenzie, as always, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jazz. We'll chat soon.
All right, that is Mackenzie Gray, Global News Ottawa correspondent. Give me a call on the open line. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think of some of the comments from Mackenzie, who follows this stuff very closely? Prime Minister Mark Carney is preparing for a fast-track major infrastructure project under a one Canadian economy policy. He wants to fast-track projects for ports, freight corridors, and critical mineral lines. And he wants to get it done in a couple of years, get these projects up and running. Do you think that's actually doable? And what I found interesting here from Mackenzie in regards to interprovincial trade, we all had heard about getting rid of interprovincial trade barriers by Canada Day. That's when they're going to now start talking about it, according to Mark Carney. That's what Mackenzie Gray has been able to find out as well. And on top of that, of course, still the usual fights with Trump and tariffs. I want to hear from you. Give me a call on the open line. Do you think we're going to be able to move forward on fast-tracking major infrastructure projects, whether that be ports, trade corridors, or critical mineral lines, such as LNG, by the way? 604-280-9898. That's 604-280-9898. Star 9898 on your cell phone. Your call next.
If you're considering closing your business and not sure how to sell everything and empty out your building, let the experts at Able Auctions help. They've been assisting business owners and managers sell surplus equipment, inventory, and vehicle fleets in a timely and orderly manner for decades. Just send an email to sales@ableauctions.ca to get started. They'll get right back to you with ideas and options with absolutely no obligation. That's sales@ableauctions.ca.
7:30 CKNW traffic. Good news is the Alex Fraser Bridge clears the crash northbound at the south end. Recovering volume on the 91 and eastbound Highway 17 is busy coming out of the Tilbury area to the 91. We still have a couple of problems on the go. In Vancouver, a crash Dunsmuir westbound before Beatty. In Burnaby, a crash on Canada Way. That's just before Kensington westbound. And in Vancouver, another crash, Marine Drive at Main Street. Light delays in both directions. Save $1 on 1,140 milliliter bottle of Smirnoff number 21, Canada's #1 vodka, until June 1st. Trucking Center and Amber Meltzer.
Late Friday night and orders are coming in. Thankfully, the Saturday business pickup and delivery with UPS. Packages get moving on the weekend, so I'm ready for the next order. I love it when a company works on my schedule.
Hey, it's Cindy. Want to get everything around the house in order this spring? Get Jiffy. Whether it's help with cleaning up the
Joe Hall Show on 730 CKNW.
Welcome back to the show. Just joining us, we were speaking to Mackenzie Gray, Global News Ottawa correspondent. We were talking about Prime Minister Carney today announcing that his government is preparing to fast-track major infrastructure projects like ports, trade corridors, and critical mineral mines, all under the banner of One Canadian Economy. I'll believe it when I see it. You can fast-track some of this stuff with government, especially when it comes to ports and maybe trade corridors, but when you start talking about, major infrastructure projects, first of all, you need private sector investors willing to take the chance, number one. You got First Nations issues in regards to negotiations, and you got non-First Nations communities you got to be speaking to. You got environmental issues you got to deal with. I'm not sure how you do those or move those in 2 years, so I'll believe it when I see it, but we'd love to hear from you. 604-280-9898, that's 604-280-9898, star 9898 on your cell phone. Let's go to Doug in Vancouver. Hi, Doug.
Yeah, hi, Chad. Love your show, and I listen to Mackenzie, and I understand he's doing his job, and he's very good, but this is the problem. I agree with what you just said. Well, I'll believe when I see it. If we can't change our philosophy and our infrastructure goals of business, this is our moment in Canada. Other than World War II, this is our moment. If we don't get our act together, forget the special intergroups. I know we're going to step on a few toes, but we got to get our wares to market. The U.S. are showing us the way. This is unstable, and we need to be self-sufficient. And if we can't get it, we're doomed. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, and so in your mind here in British Columbia, what do you think we need? I mean, the TMX pipeline is built. It was built a lot more than we wanted to be paying for it, but we own it. We have it. I think it's at about 50% capacity, maybe a little bit more. So there's still lots of space. I think it'll be at capacity by 2026. The NDP government says they believe they support dredging, so the big Afromax ships can come into Broad Inlet to move a lot of that oil from Alberta. Do you think we need to be twinning that? Do you think we need a northern gate?
No question. No question. And we're going to have to take some calculated chances. When we sit there and deal business decisions on 1.1%, if we cater to all those same groups, and it can be Indigenous, it can be special interest, we've got to stop it. We need to be self-sufficient, and we've got to make it happen. We got the tires have to hit the pavement. Our future generations, we will be broke. We have all the richest resources in the world. It's time to do business.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you for your call. I agree with you. I mean, somewhere along the way, we are going to see that change in decline in oil and natural gas. Not right away. We've got lots of years ahead of us still with the population of the world growing. But, if we want to put an oil pipeline through the north, through Kitimat, well, we still have a tanker ban up there, number one. And number two, and moving oil in that area. So that's going to be a challenge. Do you want to twin the TMX pipeline? Okay, let's have that conversation. But do you want it going through that part of Burrard Inlet, through Burnaby there, or do we perhaps twin it and then maybe move it out towards the Tsawwassen port and keep it away from the North Shore and Burnaby in that area and move it that way? Let's have that conversation. I'm willing to do so. I think our ports need to be much more efficient. And we encourage you all to do that. Much more efficient. That does mean some automation. Or on-shore things, we kind of see it sometimes. Those are the conversations we have to have in this country. In regards to critical mineral mines, that's great as well. Some countries it's 3-4 years to get mines approved. Here it's on 10 years. How do we fix that and change that? We're going to have to get to approval in the next couple of years. So that's going to be very difficult. Typical international trade areas. Love to see
816-0847. There's no questioning the 30 years of experience battered into Sea Lovers Fish and Chips, and no questioning the taste of unmistakable West Coast fish and Kennebec potatoes. The question is, how much Sea Lovers Fish and Chips is all you can eat? Every day, anytime. All you can eat fish and chips is Sea Lovers plus bottomless pop, just $19.99 plus tax. Truly the best fish and chips in town. Find a Sea Lovers near you at sea-lovers.com.
Get tickets now for the CKNW Kids Fund 50/50 for Happy Campers, presented by Sea Lovers, and help send BC kids to camp. CKNW Kids Fund 5050.com. Global News at 4:30. I'm Darius Dargar. A high-risk sex offender has been rearrested after allegedly performing an indecent act in an East Vancouver neighborhood Wednesday. Vancouver police say after 5 p.m. a woman reported a man touching himself and looking into people's homes near Woodland Drive and East Broadway. Officers arrested the suspect shortly after. 25-year-old Skylar Wayne Pelletier has been charged with 1 count of indecent act. He is a convicted sex offender and is serving a 5-year suspension order. Investigators are renewing their appeal for information into a 2019 homicide of a Richmond notary public. 58-year-old Stephen Chong was killed in his office on Grenville Road near Number 3 Road on October 18th. He had no criminal record. Here's Freya Fraun with the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team.
Without going into the specifics of the investigation, what I can say is that, he was found deceased inside his office. And, the people who are responsible or person responsible would have known that he was there at the time. So it's believed to be an isolated incident and not random.
Investigators are looking to speak to anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity in the area. U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs will continue to hit most countries around the world after an American federal appeals court temporarily paused the decision from the U.S. Court of International Trade. A federal appeals court granted the Trump administration's emergency motion to temporarily stay a decision from the U.S. Court of International Trade that essentially blocked many of the president's tariffs. Trump's team had argued that stopping the tariffs would unwind months of foreign policy and could unravel trade talks with countries. The lower court on Wednesday ruled that Trump's use of an emergency powers law to impose those tariffs exceeded his authority. The White House says they expect the case will go to the Supreme Court. Kelly Malone, the Canadian Press, Washington.
Global news for Sea Lovers Fish and Chips. Truly the best fish and chips in town. Find a Sea Lovers near you at sea-lovers.com.
Global news time is 4:33. Now the latest CKNW traffic. At the Patella Bridge, we have a broken down semi-northbound at the north end, causing delays. We have a new crash in Vancouver, Clark and 3rd Avenue. Watch out for delays there. Also in Vancouver, crash Hastings eastbound before run-through has only the left lane getting by. Tried Nick's yet? They make the comfiest bras like leak and leak-proof undies. Visit Nick's on Robson, West 4th, Richmond Center, or shop online anytime at nicks.ca. In the CKW Traffic Center, I'm Amber Belzer.
Hi, I'm Christy Gordon with your Global Sky Tracker weather forecast. A nice day out there today, and we're expecting it to remain clear through the remainder of the day and for the most part through your Friday. You may see a bit of passing cloud cover, but overall sunny skies. Highs will range from 22 to 25 degrees across Metro Vancouver Friday afternoon. Cooler though over the weekend up to only 18 degrees. Then a front will move across the region on Saturday, bringing in a chance of rainfall through the afternoon hours Saturday. We're back to drier conditions on Sunday though.
Outside CKNW in downtown Vancouver, it's 19 degrees.
Global Sky Tracker weather for Country Vines Winery, now open daily. Enjoy springtime in the country with unique handcrafted small lot wines. Learn more at countryvines.ca.
Global news time is 4:34. I'm Darius Dargar.
The BC Lions Huddle is brought to you by the BC Construction Safety Alliance, offering courses, resources, and consultation that assist the BC construction industry in making safety simpler. Visit bccsa.ca.
Now, the BC Lions Huddle, presented by Able Auction. ableauctions.ca.
Another year, another training camp on the books for the BC Lions in Kamloops. The Lions have held training camp in Kamloops since 2010 and have one more year remaining on a 2-year agreement they signed with the city with an option for 2027. However, it will be interesting to see what occurs in the future. Under owner Amar Doman, the team has made a concentrated effort to reach fans throughout the province, with last year's Touchdown Pacific game in Victoria and this year's exhibition contest in Langford as prime examples. Does training camp get shifted to another city in an effort to engage more fans? Maybe, but it will be extremely difficult to match the facilities and the field the Leos have in Kamloops. For the Lions Huddle in Kamloops, I'm Bob the Village Marjanovic.
The BC Lions Huddle, presented by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business anywhere in BC? Assets to sell? Email sales@ableauctions.ca. Thinking of closing your business but not sure what it's all worth or how to get it sold? Let the experts at Able Auctions help. Able Auctions has helped thousands of business owners sell their business assets, equipment, and inventory for over 30 years. Recent sales include metal shops, wood shops, vehicle fleets, and assets from hundreds of closed businesses. If it's a business with assets, they can get it sold. To get your business assets sold, email sales@ableauctions.ca. That's sales@ableauctions.ca.
Construction work with concrete, rock, asphalt, drywall, and gravel often leads to silica exposure. Exposure to silica can cause serious lung diseases, including lung cancer and silicosis. The BCCSA Silica Control Tool helps employers and workers develop a plan to protect workers from silica and comply with WorkSafe BC regulations. The BCCSA offers free silica testing at BC construction sites. Email silicatool@bccsa.ca or call 604-636-0327 for more information.
Now, the Jazz Joe Hall Show continues on 730 CKNW.
Welcome back to the show. The BC government is facing growing backlash over a series of controversial park closures, including the popular Joffrey Lakes Provincial Park, to non-Indigenous visitors. Yes, you heard that right, to non-Indigenous visitors. Critics say these actions and the broader direction of provincial policy risk dividing British Columbians by ancestry and undermining democratic accountability. Now, one of the individuals who's been highlighting this issue is Caroline Elliott, a political commentator. She joins us now to discuss why she believes these closures signal a troubling precedent and what it means for the future of public lands and reconciliation right here in British Columbia. Caroline Elliott is also director of the Public Land Use Society and a political commentator. Caroline, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's touch on this first issue. How long are these closures that you were mentioning in your op-ed in the National Post? How long are these closures lasting?
So with Joffrey Lakes Provincial Park, which is one of them, I want to go back to the first closure in 2023. That was 39 days. In 2024, access was restricted for 60 days. Last week, we had the nations announce that they were closing the provincial park, for more than 100 days. So these are significant portions and a growing duration every year that we see.
And what is the explanation for these closures? Are they there for symbolic, cultural reasons? What is the reasoning for these closures?
Yeah, I think that it's usually done in the name of sort of reconnecting with the land, I think is what they've spoken of. But I think it really violates a very simple premise that BC's provincial parks belong to all British Columbians, right? They're fundamental to who we are as British Columbians, for why we love where we live. And so it's a major concern when you see these parks shut down, in some cases unilaterally, to British Columbians accessing them.
What would you say to the argument that some of the government would make that these closures are about reconciliation and respecting Indigenous rights, and that we are trying to do things differently in the spirit of reconciliation? What would you say to that?
Well, it's a good question, and I think it's so easy to say, what's the harm? And it's a reasonable question. But what is happening is a very dangerous precedent is being set, because, as you know, Jazz, virtually all of BC's land mass is claimed as traditional territory by one or more of the province's 200 plus First Nations. These First Nations together amount to something like 6% of the population. So you can see, and in fact, if I was another First Nation, I would think quite reasonably, well, if they were able to close down that provincial park because they want to reconnect with the land, and I want to close historically, where you have essentially these ancestry-based camps all around British Columbia with unequal claims to the land that all of us call home.
Let's go down this road a little bit more. I think it's very important that we have this conversation. Some of it, reconciliation requires a certain amount of discomfort, and historical injustice demands some present-day rebalancing. And this is part of that journey for us collectively. It's not going to be perfect. There will be times where perhaps we need to recalibrate, rethink these issues, continue our conversation. But along the way, that we have to deal with some of this inconvenience to get to a better day and a better relationship.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, there's a reason why Indigenous rights are protected by the Constitution, right? But that does not give Indigenous groups the right to act unilaterally without consideration of the public interest, especially in cases where, and I don't want to get technical, but in cases where Aboriginal title has not been legally established. There is a process to legally establish the kind of title that might allow for such kinds of closures to non-Indigenous British Columbians. But if we're in a place in this province where the mere assertion, basically saying that you have title to an area, confers the right to prohibit public access to public spaces, then we're in a very troubling direction, because there's nothing to prevent similar closures, not just of other parks, but of any public lands throughout the province, and we're seeing it happening already. So it's a really, really important thing to draw attention to. I'm glad that you're drawing attention to it by having me on the show here. So the sort of what's the harm reconciliation question is a valid one, but I do not think that the direction we're going is the answer.
Is Joffrey Lakes the only park right now, or is this happening in other parks as well?
It happened very briefly. There was a temporary closure of the Botanical Beach Park on Vancouver Island. That was one for one day. And again, what's the harm, right? But if Joffrey Lakes is any guide, we can expect longer closures in the future. I've had another case brought to my attention, and I want to hesitate before I speak too much about it. I've just become aware of it. But there's a situation where Blue Earth Provincial Park near Ashcroft is essentially inaccessible because the Cook's Ferry Indian Band in this case has shut down access to the road that goes through it to anyone other than obviously Indigenous